What's up, average dad fans? Welcome back to another video. And yes, it's been a week since I got the Vivo X Fold 3 standard version, and I figure it's time I make a mini review. Yes, this will not be my full review with the points-based system. However, it will be a fairly in-depth review of my experience within the first 5 to 7 days. And yes, that will include battery life, multitasking, and just general day-to-day living with a Chinese ROM device. Let's go! First things first, super quickly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the support on the previous week's worth of Vivo X Fold 3 content. All the videos have absolutely smashed it and they continue to get great numbers. So I really appreciate you appreciating my effort when it comes to these devices. I know you're starved for content, and for some of you, you're kind of stuck with me. But I also like to think that some of you actually enjoy the content. So just a big thank you for that. Now for my mini review of the X Fold 3, I'm going to completely steer away from what I'd typically dive into with the 5 categories. And I'm going to start here with the multitasking. I talked about how difficult I was finding the multitasking on the Vivo X Fold 3, but that was because I had nowhere I could go and reference. I couldn't just Google search how to multitask on the Vivo X Fold 3 because there's literally nothing else out there. If you, sitting there right now, Google search Vivo X Fold 3 videos, I'll probably be in the top 3 or 5. If not, I will be all of the top 3 or 5, which is absolutely brilliant. But when I need to know what to do, who do I turn to? Well, I turn to myself. I figured it out, and to be fair, I should have figured it out about a day quicker than I did. I mentioned already the multitasking on foldable devices in general is one of the key drivers to have a foldable device. Using the inner screen for one app on the left like Outlook and one app on the right like your Teams chat is absolutely imperative if you want to be productive using a foldable phone. Likewise, social media, watching a YouTube video at the top while scrolling through your Twitter feed or replying to WhatsApp chats in the bottom window is super handy and efficient. Well, with the Vivo X Fold 3, we already knew how to multitask split screen, swipe up with 3 fingers. You can then use the little ellipses in the middle of the screen to split horizontally or vertically. I have now figured out that if you tap either of the split screens at the left or right, tap on the top little bar, it gives you the option to minimize the window or make it a small window. So here you can see I've made these 2 small, I've opened up other 2 apps, and ultimately, as I thought you can have 2 floating windows and 2 split screen apps at the same time. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't see any real life reason where I would want to have 4 apps open at the same time. 2 is enough, but you can do it if so inclined. Now, another thing I want to talk about before I talk the usual design, displays, all that kind of technical stuff as well, I want to talk about real life battery, because this has been a question that perpetually comes up. Folks, when I make my unboxing or first impressions video, it's pointless to ask me how the battery life is. I appreciate the questions, but I had to reply, because I like to reply to all questions, but I had to reply to so many people saying, don't know. Have patience. So just as a general rule of thumb, for any channel that you're watching, if it's their first impressions or unboxing video, they've not had the phone long enough to give you a true reflection of what battery life is. And if it is their unboxing or first impressions and they tell you the battery life is brilliant, battery life shit, they don't know. I like to spend a week with a device before I can tell you how the battery life is. And the good news is, on the Vivo X Fold 3, as predicted, Pairing the 8 Gen 2 chip with a 5,500 milliamp hour battery and Origin OS super efficient software, must be super efficient, because look at these feckin' numbers. My battery life is still at 87%. I last fully charged it nearly 2 days ago. I'm confused. To the point where I thought something was wrong with my device. The battery life on this seems to be so good that you can't trust that it's displaying the right number. You know, if you've got like a broken speedometer on your car and you think you're doing 30 and you're actually doing 80. My phone feels like this. The Vivo X Fold 3 is feeling a bit like that. How can it possibly... I mean, even if I didn't use it at all, but as you know, I've been using it for software, for gaming, for camera tests. Now, granted, I still have another phone, the S24 Ultra, that I use alongside this. But I'm using this phone fairly light to moderate usage, I'd say, each day. But even if I wasn't, even if I just left this in a drawer, within 2 days you would expect it to drop more than 13% battery. Now, I'm so tempted to make a dedicated just battery video alone because it's blown my mind. I mentioned and I showed you that charge, the last full charge, nearly 2 days ago, I think it was like 1 day and 20 hours ago. That wasn't just the last full charge. That was its only charge since I got it. Are you listening? The only time in 6 days, 5.5 to 6 days, that this has been charged is once, and it's still at 87% battery. Again, I am not using it 10 hours a day. I might use the X Fold 3 2 to 3 hours a day. But I don't know what to say. I'm absolutely stumped as to how it can still be so high on battery. Now, I know it's got a premium battery inside as far as the technology. I know it's got a large battery inside. And I know the 8 Gen 2 chip is efficient. But the OnePlus Open and the Honor Magic V2 also have the 8 Gen 2 chip. And while they have good battery life, yeah. Well done, Vivo. Anywho, moving on. Cameras. Before the X Fold 3 was in my hands and I had a chance to test it, I made a couple of videos, one telling you all about the rumoured specs, and one saying that I was disappointed after the launch. And I might... In fact, I am. I'm eating some humble pie just now. I was wrong. Vivo have managed to create a world-class flagship. And I say the word flagship deliberately because I've had a few comments saying this isn't a flagship phone, it's not got the latest chip. If you want to be a hater in life, that's fine. All good. But please, don't be childish. Of course it's a flagship phone. Can you honestly sit there and say that the V2 or the OnePlus Open are not flagship phones? Because the OnePlus Open had the 8 Gen 2 chip with the 8 Gen 3 only a month or two away from its release. No, you can't. This is a flagship device. And the cameras, while the sensors are good, don't scream flagship. The outputs I've been getting from photos and videos have been flagship. That's the last time I'm going to use the F word. So, in reality, portraits are phenomenal. The 2x optical zoom goes up to 50 times digitally. Now, while about 4 times or 6 times is lossless, 50 times digitally is mostly going to look like a potato. Or so you would have thought. You could clearly make out a door number, maybe even the name of the family that live here if they had a plaque on the door. And folks, again, to reiterate, this is the ultra-wide shot from my room, and this is the zoomed-in shot. with a 2 times optical non-F-word phone. Folks, it's a Vivo. If you don't know, you should know. Vivo make some of the best photography phones on the planet. And the Vivo X Fold 3 standard version is no different. Now, before I finish off this mini review, I mentioned the standard mode that I have here, but it should also be said that in about, don't have a watch on, 2 hours, I will have the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro in the studio. Yes, in my hands will be the X Fold 3 Pro. Now, while my intention is to release a video on that tonight, reality is your average dad has a poker tournament and I won't be able to make a video tonight. Well, I don't think I will. You know me, I'm quite quick. That's what she said. So we'll see, but I doubt I'll make a video tonight. But if I don't, I promise to make 2 tomorrow for you. Now, bring it back to the standard X Fold 3. Dimensions, build quality, I've talked about this in previous videos, but for all the specs that we're talking about, the huge battery, the cameras, to fit all into a centimetre thick device folded, it's 10.2 millimeters. And yes, for again, the person in the comments that was telling me that the difference between the V2 and the X Fold 3 is not 0.3 millimeters, it's a full 3 millimeters. Please, folks, kids, if you're watching, stick in school. 9.9 millimeters to 10.2 millimeters is 0.3 millimeters of a difference. This guy was adamant it's 3 millimeters. Anyway, I shouldn't look at the comments, but I do look at the comments. I reply to all the comments. I love the comments. I need the constructive feedback. I need to know what you like about the videos, what you don't like. For example, you didn't like that new intro, hence why I've moved back to the old one till I make a new one. I rely on your feedback. I am a small tech channel that is absolutely influenced on what most commonsensical comments say. Now, before I wrap up the review, as far as content consumption on this device, the displays are stunning. I actually don't know what I'm going to talk about with the X Fold 3 Pro because while the specs are quite similar, I can't see how it can blow my mind any more than what this has. The one thing I would say is the X Fold 3 Pro's got a slightly higher resolution screen and a bigger battery, so God knows what battery life I'm going to get from that baby. Now, before I close out the video, I do just want to touch on life with a Chinese ROM. You know this if you've watched any of my videos, but I'm telling you again. Life with a Chinese ROM is not all sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky would say. There are some issues that you absolutely must know about. One of which being Android Auto. I still get this question. You categorically cannot get Android Auto on the Vivo X Fold 3, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, the Honor Magic V2 Chinese version. You can get it in the global. The only Chinese ROM phones that you can get Android Auto on are Xiaomi's. And that's only because they will allow you to unlock the bootloader, flash a global ROM, so you've technically not got a Chinese ROM anymore, and then you can get Android Auto. That also works with smartwatch connectivity. Unless you're buying a own brand proprietary Vivo watch, if they exist, or a Chinese manufacturer's watch like the Kospet Tank that I will be doing a review on soon, and a few others, you're not going to get your Samsung Galaxy wearable or your Wear OS Tag Heuer connected to consistently connect. You might get a glimmer of hope here when you download the Wear OS app and the Chinese version of the Wear OS app. There might be a glimmer that they've connected. But trust me, if they originally connect, within a day, they'll disconnect. And you'll never connect them again. It's a glitch in the matrix, folks, and you just have to deal with it. Another thing you're going to have to deal with is Google Pay. I have had a few comments since my last video saying that Google Pay works on their Vivo X Fold. Folks, I had Google Pay working on the Vivo X Fold, but since then, the X Fold 2 and now the X Fold 3, I can't get it to work. And I'd like to think I knew a thing or two about how to get it to work. Yes, I've removed the Jovi wallet, not just made the default as Google Wallet, I've removed the Jovi wallet. Still, nothing. Can't get NFC payments to work. Now, for any other Chinese ROM specific queries, questions, or concerns you have, I am going to link them in the description, but I have made 2, 3, 4, like multiple setup / questions answered videos on a Chinese ROM. And while I'm actually talking about this, when I do get the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, I am going to make sure it is fully reset and do a step-by-step installation process in order to get Google Play, all your apps, app drawer, uninstall the bloatware, all that stuff. I'll make it step-by-step. It'll work on any Chinese ROM the same way, other than Huawei. They'll not get Google. But again, I've made a video on that too. So as far as my mini review of the X Fold 3, think of this, if you're in the UK, like a prelim for the main exam. The scores this is getting in a mini review, while not talking about the scores, are going to be pretty damn good for the full review. So if you've not already, for whatever strange reason, subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe. And this has been a good video, so show me how good it is, smash the like button. And until potentially later today, or definitely tomorrow, take care.